The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the Bliss Business Podcast series, Scaling with Purpose. These are our 10-minute podcast series episodes where we explore how to embed purpose into every level of your organization. I'm Steven Zakash here with Tulio Saragosa and Ashmar. Hey, guys.
Looking forward to a chat today.
Yes. So today we're diving into measuring success with purpose-driven metrics, and we're discussing why it's crucial to track metrics beyond profit, so including the impact on employees, on your community, and on the environment. So let's get rolling here, Ash.
Well, Steve, purpose-driven organizations measure success differently. It's not just about their overall bottom line. It's about the value they create for people, the planet, and the impact they want to leave behind. The triple bottom line approach is essentially they're tracking metrics that reflect purpose. Companies can ensure they're staying true to their mission while also growing sustainably and following their Northern Star, which attracts great employees that are looking for that purpose as well.
Absolutely, Ash. And, traditional metrics are important, like revenue and profits. Those are still important, but they don't tell the full story, right? So, purpose-driven metrics give a fuller picture of the impact an organization has long-term. And it's also related to its long-term success. In fact, they help organizations understand how they contribute to their community, how they support employees, and how they minimize environmental footprints, for example. So let's explore these purpose-driven metrics and why they matter.
Yeah, so I like to think of it as these purpose-driven metrics. They help organizations measure more of what truly matters. So when companies track impact on employees and the community and the environment, they can see how these actions really align with their purpose. And this creates not only trust with the stakeholders, but accountability, which is important.
Steve, it's not about just doing good. It's about building long-term value. So there's actually data on this. Studies have shown that purpose-driven companies outperform their competitors, their peers, because they're creating deeper customer loyalty and attracting employees who are more engaged and more committed to that company's North Star.
Exactly, Ash. Purpose-driven metrics also inspire innovation because when teams are working towards something like meaningful, they're more likely to experiment and even push boundaries. And this shifts the focus from short-term gains. Still quarterly objective if you're a public company is still important, but really you start thinking about the long-term impact your organization is going to have.
Yeah, so let's break down 3 categories of purpose-driven metrics that go beyond profit. So you've got employee impact, community impact, and environmental impact. And we're going to cover each of those. So we'll start with the employee impact metrics. So purpose starts really from within. So measuring employee impact means understanding how your purpose influences engagement, well-being, and growth. Some metrics here to consider that you've probably pretty familiar with. Employee engagement scores, so measure how connected employees feel to the company's mission. Employee retention rates, so track loyalty and commitment, especially among purpose-aligned hires. And then well-being and work-life balance, so use surveys to understand how supported and valued employees feel.
What's interesting, Steve? Salesforce does this amazingly. So they actually measure purpose-driven engagement by asking their employees how their work contributes to the overall mission of the company. This keeps purpose front and center, and it helps leaders understand what drives their employees and peers' motivation and retention.
It also builds trust because when employees see that leaders care about their well-being and in alignment with their purpose, they feel more valued and invested in their work as well.
The next one to look at is the community impact portion that Steve talked about. So, purpose-driven companies don't just focus on customers, although that's a big part of their overall community. They consider their broader role in society. So some of the key metrics are, community engagement, where they measure volunteer hours, community events, or partnerships they build with third-party partners. They look at their overall social impact. They track the impact of charitable giving and social initiatives that they agree upon as they go out there and find these partners to work with. And then lastly is the customer loyalty and advocacy. They measure brand loyalty among customers who connect with their purpose, their North Star, which I think is phenomenal.
Now, that's spot on, Ash. Now, let's take Patagonia, for example. Now, we always revert to Patagonia, so I just want everybody to know they're not paying us to say this, okay? We just happen to like them a lot.
Their sweaters, that's it. That's not because
yeah, if they want
to from Patagonia Watchy, we'll take a sweater or t-shirt or something. But in any case, I mean, take Patagonia, for example. They measure community impact by tracking the success of environmental campaigns and also the customer engagement around activism. So this reinforces their purpose, which is to, have environmental stewardships, and also helps them build customer loyalty.
Yeah, and when you're doing this, keep in mind it's not just about numbers. So you want to get that qualitative feedback, which is like, stories, testimonials, community narratives. And this can really highlight the emotional impact of your purpose-driven initiatives. And if you're doing this right, these are the stories that you want to tell. These are the things that marketers like us, this is what we want to hear and pull from you so that we can tell your story and make that emotional connection.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about environmental impact, because this is actually a crucial one in terms of purpose-driven brands that are committed to sustainability. And the key metrics there include, for example, carbon footprint and energy use. Tracking environmental impact and identifying areas for improvement is key to this metric. Waste reduction and recycling rates, that's another metric worth measuring, which is measuring progress towards zero waste goals, for example. And then sustainability, sustainable sourcing and supply chain transparency. This ensures, for example, that your operations are aligned with your purpose and environmental stewardship.
What's amazing, we talked about this company earlier too. I think it was in a previous episode. Unilever does this exceptionally well. They literally track carbon reduction, water conservation, and sustainable sourcing as part of their sustainable living plan. So this keeps them accountable and transparent about their environmental impact. And that's super important for their brand. And that's what their North Star is.
Yeah. And I know there's companies like UPS too, that they track all this stuff. And really it does come down to sometimes you can even save a lot of money, switching over to solar and things like that. So they are able to report these metrics to their boards and kind of show really some ROI on this. When you're having these metrics, that's what you're able to drill down to a lot of times. So they basically show that stakeholders that you're serious about your purpose and you're taking these sort of concrete steps to minimize your environmental footprint. You're really walking the walk about what you're telling people you're about. So the next area we want to get to is really how to implement these purpose-driven metrics. So this requires a strategic approach. And so here are kind of 3 steps we've come up with to get started. So obviously align your metrics with your purpose. So identify the areas where your purpose has the most impact. So employees, community, or environment, whichever of these, and then select relevant metrics. And you can be really creative here, depending on your purpose. And then you want to integrate these metrics into your decision-making process. So make these purpose-driven metrics part of your leadership discussions, part of your strategy meetings, and even performance reviews with your employees. And then lastly, you want to communicate this impact transparently. So share these results with your employees, with your customers, and your stakeholders. This is what builds trust and accountability.
And Steve, what's super important to remember is you have to be flexible. Okay. As your purpose and impacts evolve, so should your metrics. Continuously reviewing and adapting them to ensure they're meaningful and relevant is of the utmost importance, because things change, goals change, but always looking back and being like, oh, are we still following our purpose? Can we be flexible? Can we adjust a few things here to keep ourselves aligned and keep everyone engaged? So that's also super important, that flexibility. Don't be convinced. There was a quote by a gentleman, it's a business guru. He says, the greatest killer of truth than lies is convictions, right? So always have that flexibility of like, hey, can we be open-minded? Can we keep adjusting ourselves, or just do an audit? Just ask yourself that question. Hey, are we still aligned to our main purpose? Are there some adjustments we can make?
Exactly. And have fun with it. Don't be afraid to get creative. I mean, purpose-driven metrics aren't always about hard numbers. Qualitative feedback and emotional impact matters too. So have fun with it. Be creative. Combine quantitative and qualitative insights, which gives a fuller picture of success.
Yeah. So to recap here, purpose-driven metrics, they go beyond, measuring profit and looking to measure impact on employees, community, and the environment. And so the key categories here are those employee impact metrics we talked about, the community impact metrics, and environmental impact metrics. So when companies measure purpose, they're sending really a powerful message. It's not just about profit, it's about people, planet, and progress. And that's really how you build that long-term value and trust. In our next episode, we are going to discuss purpose-driven decision-making, exploring how purpose can guide strategic choices and everyday actions. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with others on their purpose-driven journey.